Hello, everyone, and welcome to Career Talk. I'm Suren Sharma, an agile consultant based in Netherlands, and today I'm super excited to introduce Eric Bose with us. He's an agile coach, keynote speaker, and a PhD candidate, and he's also from Netherlands. So yeah, we do a kind of conversation earlier, and then I have to spend a lot of time to bring him on this channel. But there, finally, he's here. So that's good. And friends, in today's session, we will cover agile transformation, advanced level interview questions shared by our WhatsApp group members who have faced interview recently, and who is better than Eric. So before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more informative sessions like this. And if you find this session valuable, which I'm sure you will, don't forget to hit that like button. So without further delay, let's dive in. Welcome, Eric. Over to you, Eric.
Hey, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. I was actually quite a nice surprise when you invited me for this session because I've been looking at some of your videos on YouTube. So it's really great to be here.
It's an honor, like you're watching our videos. So I'm flattered, to be very honest. Okay, wonderful, Eric. So if you allow, shall we start?
Yeah, just go for it.
Okay, so the very first question is, which is very basic, and I think it's a great question. How do you define agile transformation, and what benefits do you think it will bring to an organization? Eric.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good question. It's one of the things that I've wondered for quite a long time. It's the fact that if you think about it, what exactly is agile? It's one of those questions that you really don't have a very clear answer anywhere. People are always talking about how to do agile and what it's good for. But if we really start thinking about what is agile really, one of the first things that I notice is that in general, agile transformations are more about reorganizing an organization more than they're about agility. So that's something to really think about. And my opinion is that agility is about letting go of control. That's really the big innovative step that agile takes. If you think about a lot of the things that we do about efficiency and improved ways of work, that's just a continuation of things that we've been doing for a very long time. Even empiricism, it's something that was discovered 400 or 500 years ago in the Enlightenment. So if you really think about it, the huge change that Agile brings is control, transferring control to the whole population of employees. And if you look at it from that perspective, if suddenly the goal becomes very clear. An agile transformation is about involving the whole employment in that innovation, creating a learning organization. So, and for me, that's really important to have that goal very clearly, because then you can separate the other aspects of the reorganization, and it makes it clearer that they're meant to support the ultimate goal, which is that transfer of responsibility to the employees. So, with that perspective in mind, it also becomes clear why an agile transformation is so difficult, because you're trying to change the way people behave. And this is something which if you think about it, it goes back to the whole idea of the growth mindset. Carol Dweck, famous psychologist, she talked about the open mindset, the closed mindset, the growth mindset, I mean. And it's this ability of people to be able to grow, to develop themselves. And that makes it really complex, an agile transition, because it means that you have to teach people a new way of thinking, a new way of doing things. And that's something that's not going to happen from one day to another. It's something which it's a little bit like you know, the way you help your kids to grow up. A very good example, people use the concept of gardening to give a bit of a feeling about what that an agile transition is. It's about creating the environment and giving the plants the right the soil, the temperature, so that they can grow.
Yeah. Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Eric. So, if I see from my perspective, agile transformation is basically stand on four different pillars, which is about cultural change, which is about organizational redesign, which is about process evaluation, and which is about the leadership evaluation as well. So, when we say
Yeah,
cultural change, so yes, we have to bring all these values about transparency, collaboration, continuous learning, customer focus, right, across all the levels. So from base to here, from your team level to your senior leadership. So that's the cultural change which we are looking for. When we say organizational redesign, so it means like moving away from your rigid hierarchies, right, and all those handoff silos towards a cross functional or a empowered team, that can
yeah,
own their outcome end to end. So that's about the organizational redesign. And when we say process evaluation, right, so it's like we have to imbibe this iterative planning, the frequent delivery, the fast feedback loops, and then all those data informed decision making, which we call empirism, right, in our day to day workflows. So that's from a process evaluation perspective. And when we say leadership evaluation, right, so it's from shifting from command and control to a servant leadership, where manager, project managers unblock the impediment rather than coming with that mindset, coach the team
yeah.
and help remove their issues, the challenges which all people are facing. So I think from my perspective, these are the four pillars on which your agile transformation, which is about end-to-end shift often your organization mindset, the structure, the way of working towards all the principle, the practices, which is again embodied in agile manifesto. So yeah, it's just like small thought from my side, just to add whatever you just mentioned. So yeah, Eric.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you're saying is really interesting because I completely agree that you have to focus on leadership and efficiency and all these aspects. But the point I'm trying to make is that these are not the essence of agility. Yeah, these are things that are going to happen anyway, whether you are agile or not. A company that doesn't do an agile transformation still focuses on improving its processes, still focuses on leadership, developing leadership. um, my point is that the essence of agility is the involvement of the employees. Yeah, letting go of that control, removing that elite that controls the whole organization, and
Absolutely.
making that innovation something that is taken responsibility for by the whole organization. And then things like leadership and efficiency and all these other aspects, which we usually put as a goal of an agile transformation, they will happen on their own. That's
Automatically.
actually a side effect of an effective agile transformation.
Correct. Absolutely. Brilliant. Great. I agree with you, Eric, on that. So
Cool.
my next follow up question is like, if you, based on your past experience, you can if share the approach to manage all these changes among the employees, as you
Yeah,
just mentioned during the agile transformation initiative. So
yeah,
what's happened there?
yeah. Well, I think that having that goal clear in your mind, the fact that it's about letting go and involving the employees, really transferring the responsibility to your employees, gives you a lot of focus because it's about creating that freedom for your employees. It's things like efficiency. They are a vehicle to have that conversation with the employees, but it's not the goal in itself. And so what I always try to do with my teams is not to talk about the processes and iterative development, all these things that we talk about in agile. I'm much more interested in talking about their motivation, about the goals that they have, but what makes them happy, what makes them enjoy their work, because that's where you get the empowerment. Yeah, as soon as you're able to make clear to people how much power they have and how much we want them to take that responsibility, I notice that that gives people that intrinsic motivation, and then things start happening which are really amazing. So,
Wonderful.
do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I completely agree. Agree with that,
Good,
your
good.
perspective. So that's okay. Okay, so that's great. And if you can also share based on, maybe let's say you are going to join an organization where
Yeah,
a previous agile transformation at time failed
yeah,
due to poor execution. So now what you are going to do? So
yeah.
what would you do to rebuild that trust, to restart the transformation?
Yeah. It's that focus. I mean, one of the things I most enjoy doing when I arrive at an organization that's had that kind of situation is start getting rid of stuff. Yeah, because a failed transformation, 90% of the time, it's because a process has been, put on the people top down. Yeah, they've been told to work in a certain way. It's it's surprising how an agile transformation is handled as a reorganization. Yeah, so instead of having the focus on the people, we're focusing on reorganizing the way we work from a top-down approach, and we use all these concepts which are meant to empower the employees, but because we're in such a hurry, and there's all these yeah, politics going on.
Mm,
The result is that we focus too much on getting things done. So from what I noticed that works really well is to just get back to basics. Yeah, so simple things like a team that is struggling with dependencies and collaboration, and especially with the whole bureaucracy and documentation. So just show them that it's fine to get rid of all that stuff, and it's fine to start thinking for yourself what we really need, and that's a wonderful way of reaching people, because on the one side you put yourself on their side. Yeah, you can join in making fun of all the mess that the situation is, and then that triggers that motivation to take that responsibility and then start fixing things. Yeah, and that's,
right.
of course, it's complicated because you have a whole organization, so you have to create that environment where you can all participate in that process. Yeah, we always like to make fun of management, for example, but management is also a part of that process. They are also just in need of finding the right way of working. So it's beautiful how by starting with focusing on the problem, focusing on the motivation, that you can create synergy between the start with the team members, but eventually also with management, with the stakeholders, become partners, work together to reach your goals.
Absolutely, absolutely agree on that. So if I have to give a little bit my perspective in a very brief, so maybe let's say when we are going to join this kind of organization when it's already been happened. So the very first thing is maybe we can listen to the people, the actual people who are working. It can be, and again, it can be middle manager, it can be your team, even your customer, even your team members, everyone. So maybe we can listen to them, like, okay, uh, what worked, what did
Yeah,
not work, where
yeah,
we solve, what do you miss, those kinds. So basically we have to diagnose and listen to the voice of all our team members, like what exactly is happening,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
and then
And then
one of the most important things, it's not about solving the problems, it's about helping the people themselves solve the problems. Yeah, because that
correct,
creates the empowerment. That is that agile growth mindset. Yeah, as soon
correct.
as you start getting that into the minds of the people, they eventually they take it over for themselves, and
Yeah,
then
so
wonderful things start happening.
absolutely. So once we have all these answers, like, okay, why, what has happened, and why, what do you think, right? So maybe after that, maybe we can map our failure points. So let's say, okay, whether it's a lack of leadership commitment, whether it's a poor training, or maybe it's like too much mandate on tools using, or maybe it's a systematic issue, or it's some technical one, maybe it's some organizational silos or whatever, right? So once we do that, then we can come up, we can unpack the things, right? That okay, what are the underlying concerns, right? So whether
Yeah,
the business is not supporting us, whether it's a lack of clarity, or why agile matters, even people are not aware about something like that. And then maybe we can come up with some, I don't know, maybe we can resell it, or we don't have to resell it, but maybe we can set the realistic expectations. We can
yeah,
clarify that transformation is a year long, multi-year long journey, and please, maybe we should not avoid maybe some big bang launches, or maybe we can agree on some incremental milestones or things like that, right? Maybe we can come up with some pilot thing, maybe our lighthouse teams or something. Maybe we can create some, lightweight processes, and then maybe we can show them some early wins, and how it's working or not working. That maybe help us to re-establish that kind of trust which has been lost, and then slowly
yeah.
maybe we can scale it across the organization, right? Maybe so I think that may be the way forward if something has happened, and then how are going to work again on that thing. So yeah, that's some of my perspective,
Yeah,
Eric.
it's what you say. It's the irony of an agile transformation is that we all know that a complex system is it's really hard to figure out what the solution is. And an organization is a complex system. And then if you think about what you're trying to achieve with an agile transformation, it's the culture, it's the way of work, all these things. Of course, that's also a complex project. So why do people think that it's possible to do that as a big bang? By definition, agility is about dealing with complexity, and we have all these tools that we've proven work to solve that kind of problems. That is, uh, work step by step, take small steps, work iteratively, try things out, find out what works. So essentially, it makes complete sense to approach an agile transformation in the same way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just the same thing which you just mentioned, right? So maybe based on your experience, can you tell us few reasons where specifically that agile transformation initiative might not achieve their anticipated outcomes? So if you can just give like in a brief, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the biggest problem is that need for control. An agile transition is such a big step, and it creates so much stress and fear that everybody is looking for that control. And it's something that people feel that it's such a huge investment. And all this are basically the same patterns that you see in big projects. Yeah, and the effect is that people want everything to be perfect and thought out from the beginning, and that you can make promises and that you can have a fixed delivery date, and that's where it goes wrong. And that's the hard bit about an agile transformation, that there are aspects which need to be handled, and you can't do anything about it except doing it in a big bang way. For example, reorganizing the organization to work using value streams. Yeah, that's a kind of step that you have to take, and it's not something that you can do gradually. Yeah, if you want to remove the dependencies between the teams, you have to reorganize the teams to be able to take responsibility for the whole value stream. Yeah, and that's the challenge. It's finding the balance. Which things do we really have to do in a big bang way, and how do we do it in such a way that we maintain the essential part, the fact that we involve all the employees and give them the responsibility, and do it in such a way that we don't damage that mindset.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Wonderful, Eric. And if I have to ask the same question in a different way, like if you can describe any agile transformation project which you led and that you consider that is most successful. So what made it successful? If you can share, one or two things which you believe is really helpful in shaping this agile transformation a successful. So
I think that the agile transformations where I have been able to reach some kind of success, they all had a very essential component of building relationships.
mhm,
Yeah, it's about in one example, I started with two teams, and I showed the teams how to take responsibility, and looking for the dependencies the team was struggling with. I got in touch with other Scrum Masters and involved those Scrum Masters, and then we started learning from each other, and their teams also started to join in that way of working, and gradually we had managers joining in. At a certain moment, we had impediments in big organizations is always a big problem. Yeah, because the Scrum Masters, they have to deal with them, but often they don't have the power, the mandate, the authority to do so. Well, in this organization where this process was taking place, we actually got to the point that managers joined in, and we created a Jira board specifically for impediments, and they bubbled up from the teams, and then the managers, they would take responsibility for it, and we would have a Kanban process to solve them. And this was something that kept growing, and eventually, uh, together with one of the Scrum Masters, we were coaching the higher management, teaching them about agility, introducing concepts like accountability. One of the things which I find are often ignored with in agility. It's the idea that you have to give people space and safety. And then managers, they feel like they have to step away. But accountability uh, is a very powerful motivator. Basically, giving constraints to your teams, the rules of the game. And I think those aspects are really important. And if you can get management involved, that they can provide those constraints in the right way, it can uh, really encourage the teams and encourage the whole process. Yeah, and this is for me the way that you should try to do an agile transformation.
Wonderful. So I have next question, which is a little bit controversial. Some people like it, some people don't like it. And the question is like, what do you think about different KPIs or the matrices to measure the success of a agile transformation? Because how do anyone know that now they are transformed? They started from point A and now they are at point B, or at least in between somewhere. So
Yeah,
do you think
yeah.
that is there any way to measure, or it's just like all about you have to just forget about matrices?
I am metrics. You love them or you hate them. Let me start by saying that metrics are essential. I was trained as a scientist. You have to be able to tell the difference uh, before and after you make a change. So in that sense, metrics are essential, but we have to remember that they have to serve a very specific purpose. Uh, I think one of the basically the hardest thing scientists do is trying to simplify the systems they study in order to be able to use metrics. And that is, for me, the big thing that everybody forgets about metrics, that in a complex system, by definition, metrics lose their value. A complex system, you can't measure it. You have to simplify it, just like a scientist. If you want to solve a problem, you have to simplify the system that belongs to that problem to the point where you've simplified it enough that you can start using metrics for it. So therefore, the only way that you can really use metrics effectively is for very specific situations. And the whole idea that you can measure an agile transformation, measure the way teams are developing, it's illusion. It's that need for control. And I think that as soon as we realize that, it forces us to start looking for new ways of trying to figure out how things are going, and then we can start talking about value, because value is it's your measure. Yeah, if you have, I've noticed very often that when I start working in a new organization, whether a team is delivering value or not, that's absolutely clear for everyone. And so that's a metric that you can use. That's an effective metric, but it's something which you can read. it overcomplicates it to try to define that as a KPI, or that only confuses the whole situation. It puts too much faith in the metric. I think the smell of the place, that concept, that is much more powerful. If you walk into an organization, just by talking to the teams and walking around, you know what the mindset is. You can feel whether the teams are happy or not, whether they're productive or not. Yeah, and I think metrics distract from that perspective.
Mhm. Great. Okay. Though I have one follow-up question, I'm not sure. So, but then how you will perceive this value? Like how you will tell that, okay, whether whatever we are doing is valuable or not? So there has to be
Yeah,
some parameters or something, just like because let's say I have 10 different teams, or let's say 100 different teams
yeah,
at
yeah,
org
yeah.
level. So how do I say that, okay, you guys are delivering a value?
I think that all these tools that we use, such as KPIs, OKRs, they are valuable because they force you to think about what value is. But that's where the value stops. Yeah, the conversation is the value, not the ability to measure it. Yeah. So, for example, I discovered this because I worked with a team. It was a pretty cool team. They were very high performance, and we talked about the concept of value. And in the end, we didn't find a way of measuring it. But instead, anytime that we had a conversation, for example, in refinement about something we wanted to deliver, if the conversation started to stray into the wrong direction, but the only thing somebody had to say was business value, or what is the value of this, and that was enough. Yeah, because by having that conversation about value, everybody uh, was conscious of the fact that all the things that we thought created value, but also the complexity of what value is. So it becomes an intuition, becomes a feel, and I think that applies to big organizations too. If you go to a big organization, you can look for their vision, mission statements on the website, and from there you can measure what the value is of anything you do. And by measure, I mean having that conversation. It's like what we're doing now. Does it contribute? One of the things I like to do with my teams is talk about the users that we have. What product are we delivering, and who uses it? And then by having that conversation, it becomes clear. Like, okay, the users use it for this. So when we talk about a specific feature improvement, that consciousness is enough to guide us in that conversation. Yeah, and that's part of agility. It's complex, so you have to do the best you can, and you if you have stakeholders and management, you have to involve them in that conversation, and you have to have that conversation together, so you have that shared value.
Absolutely. So if I have to sum up very quickly, so I understand that there are three kind of values, multi-dimension of this value. One is the customer value. So where, let's say, a new feature or capability that we have put it, that particular capability has done its job. So the user, that thing is helping user to accomplish their goal. It can be anything, let's say faster checkout or some code reporting or anything like that. So the delight
Yeah,
or the trust customer
yeah,
feel, right? Maybe a good
yeah,
UI design or some responsive support, that is the customer value. And when we say
yeah,
business value, so let's say a feature that can unlock some new sales, or let's say upsales or some cross sales or some pricing power, so that's a business
yeah,
value. So let's say we done some automation or some technical improvement to reduce some support costs or maintenance overhead. That's the business value, I think, right? And then the organizational value. So if we have some new skills, or we have some different mindset shift, let's say we are doing some cross-functional collaboration, or team doing some TDD or things like that, the cultural aspect, right? So we increase the trust, the transparency, the empowerment that make our future changes easier and less risky.
yeah,
I think there's the organizational value which you can bring on, right? So I
yeah,
think from that perspective, value have different dimensions. It's just like we have to understand which dimension we have to, or it's a collaboration of different dimensions that
Yeah,
will bring that value, right? So I think in that way, yeah, just to sum up whatever you just mentioned, from my perspective. Great. Good,
yeah,
good,
yeah.
good point. I think this is a really a wonderful. I think no one has given this kind of answer about KPIs. People just talk about flow, this metric, that metrics, agile maturity,
Yeah,
this and
yeah,
that. But then I think this is a good perspective, Eric, which you bring in. Great, and that's why
yeah. And just
we invited
let me
you.
make clear. Sorry,
Yes,
it's
sorry,
just like me make clear. I'm not saying that all these metrics don't
are
have
not
value.
needed. Yes, they have, but then focus should be here.
Yeah, it's a conversation, not the measuring.
Yeah, otherwise you get some negative comments. Hey, Eric, no, we need metrics. We need matrices,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay, no problem. Let's move on. We have a lot of other questions to come up
yeah,
with.
cool.
Okay, so okay, so now let's say if you have, let's say I'll give you an organization. Let's say now we hired you. Let's say in a new organization, and I'm asking you, Eric, design a strategy or a roadmap, how to implement this agile transformation. I need an action plan for my company, Eric. Tell me, what should I do? Over to you,
Focus
Eric.
on the teams. Start with the teams. Yeah, and I think that that focus has to be driven by an understanding of the ultimate goal, which is empowerment. Yeah, transferring responsibility to the teams. So if you want to do that effectively, you need to have Scrum Masters that focus on that, and you need to have the space to teach your teams about it. Yeah, because it's a process, and then you have to get involved in it. So if I always say, I cannot be an agile coach if I don't have a team that I can be there as a scrum master. Because the moment I become an agile coach and I don't have a team, I lose touch with reality. And I think that applies to every position in an organization. The value gets delivered in the teams. So that's the focus. And if we accept the fact that you can't be everywhere at the same time, then you also have to accept that you have to delegate. And if we accept that we can't measure things effectively, the only way that you can stay in touch is by being there with the people. So that means that everybody needs to be involved with the teams, and everybody needs to have that continuous conversation. So it boils down to building relationships. And that is the hard thing about an agile transformation, because we're so used to that way of project management where you just design it and apply it, uh, that it's really hard to realize that that doesn't work here, and that it's a social endeavor. Yeah, so that's the only thing that you can do, is form a group of people, create those shared values, uh, have that shared understanding of that very specific goal, and keep communicating, keep doing it together, and gradually scale that. I understand that it's not something that you can do from day one for a whole organization. So start small. Start with a handful of teams they are interested. Start building that dialogue, that collaboration to create those best practices that apply to the given context of your organization, and then gradually start growing from there.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So I'm a consultant as well, like agile consultant. So if I have to sell this to someone, like in my word, so how I'm going to summarize it, that okay, we have to first assess and discover, like that will have a lot of different activities as you mentioned about, maybe I'll going to interview things, I'll do value story mapping, agile maturity audit, blah blah blah. I'm telling my perspective, like how I'm to sell this. If
Yeah,
let's say you are a
yeah,
CEO and I'm a consultant, so that's my job to sell this. So from a coaching perspective, your answer is brilliant, but I'm just giving you my
I,
perspective from a
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
consultant
understand.
perspective. So I'll tell, like, oh, if someone is going to ask me, give me the roadmap. Okay, so I'll tell them yes. So in our phase one, we have to assess and discover what actually is happening in your organization, right? So that we are going to do, and it may take some weeks, months, I don't know. But then, yeah, depending on size and blah blah, hundred of things. And then we have to align in plan. So again, we have to have, our governance model in place, maybe, different waves roadmap or a communication plan or things like that. Again, from selling perspective, I'm telling. And the third thing or third wave is like about pilot and prove. So maybe we'll launch like one or two lighthouse teams with some co-design sprints, or maybe some we will embed some coaches. We try to set up some CSAD pipeline. We basically going to show them that early shipment model, that we can take this like a pilot playbook, something. So that will be the third thing. And of course, the fourth one will be about scale thing. So now we are going to coach different other programs. We communicate our different practices, standardize different tool chains, and we'll focus on flow focus governance model and things like that. And then we roll out to across different value streams. Then is sustain and evolve, the last one.
Yeah.
So it's all about, we'll get different reviews, different maybe innovation things, and annual health checks, and this and that, blah blah blah. And then, so if I have to sell something like this in that way, I will package it, whatever you just mentioned, in a different wordings. That's my job, to package it and sell it. And that's how I'm going to do it. So that's from my
Yeah.
perspective. So audience will get two different perspectives. So I think, please accept my perspective as well.
No, let me elaborate on that, because I was being a bit idealistic, maybe. But basically, it's that the first question that we started with, the definition: what is an agile transition? So if you ask me, how do I do an agile transition? Then for me, it's specifically focusing on the mindset, the cultural change. And basically, it's something that I wouldn't even want to label as an agile transition. It's something that I would prefer to do undercover over a long period of time. What you are describing is everything else that gets included in an agile transformation, which is literally a reorganization, a complete modification of the way people work and the processes that they use. But that, for me, is not the agile transformation. That's something that you can do separately. And like I said in the beginning, if you want to really achieve that agile ideal, you have to focus on the people, and all the other things, all the
So
improvements, all.
people will be, of course, the people will be always a core, because who is going to do that? Tool is not going to do anything, right? Their own, or any
Yeah,
matrix is nothing, right? It's the people who is going to fill the data. It's the people who is going to talk to each other. It's the people who is going to deliver whatever the increment which we are
yeah,
talking about,
exactly.
the value, right? So of
Yeah,
course, always people are always the core center, and all these things is like a web of, like, the spider is always there, and then there are a lot of things around them to support them and
yeah,
to make it happen, right? So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I truly agree that yes, the people will be always core, uh, because it's, at the end, it's all about people who's going to do the work, not
yeah.
anything else, right? So completely agree with you on that. Okay, so great. I think we are getting into a good kind of conversation. I don't know how much time it will take. So let's go to the next question quickly. So let's say one of your senior leadership, or they just view agile as a buzzword, right? So
Yeah,
how you are going to educate them, and how you are going to take their support for this transformation, because there are always few people, who support you, who are not going to support you, but then of course you need their support, for various reasons, right? So how you are going to make it happen?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that that skepticism is really valuable. It's what we are trying to achieve with an agile transformation. Stubborn people who are critical, who are prepared to think for themselves, and they don't take a solution just because somebody says it works. So I think that we have to respect that, and I think we should have these people recognize that these people are not troublemakers that are getting in the way, but these are the people who we can use as the canaries in the mine. Yeah, they can tell us whether we're bringing the message over correctly or not. Yeah, and I think if you look at it that way, it forces you to change your approach. These are people who are not going to be convinced by all these beautiful stories we tell about Agile and the way we preach the new way of work. No, these people, they want results. They want to see what works and what doesn't. And that basically is the way I think we should deal with an Agile transformation. Focus on creating results. Yeah, delivering value.
Okay. Okay. Great. Wonderful. Eric. So we are running out of time, so I have to really ask you a couple of more questions. So
That's okay.
my next question is, let's say, one of your team refused to participate in, let's say, few agile events, right? And then they are
Yeah.
telling, like, our old way of working are are better, are more effective. So what you are going to do with this kind of situation? Like, how you are going to guide them through this transition? It's so painful because there will be a resistance from the team members for sure. So
Yeah.
what you are going to do?
Well, again, it depends. I mean, are they delivering more value than other teams? Are they indeed better? In that case, it's like, who the hell am I to tell you that you should do it otherwise? Basically, this team should be an example for the rest of the organization. And the other extreme is teams that have been spoiled by too many reorganizations and agile transitions and are just tired of the whole thing. And again, that is something you have to respect. It's not their fault. It's a result of all these failed attempts. So I think I think it's important to respect the fact that they need to see the value of it. So I would start with other teams, other teams that are interested, and as those teams progress and they start having fun and enjoying their work, make it possible for that one team to see what the change is, and if they see that the other teams having so much fun and delivering so much value, well, eventually they will probably join in too.
Absolutely, I agree with you. So I think we should acknowledge their wins first. Basically, even before that, we have to listen to them first. Like, okay, maybe,
Yeah,
and we should not be a judgmental. So a non-judgmental conversation has to be between you and, just to understand their specific concerns and maybe their past
yeah,
successes, right? And then maybe we can map out with our agile event just to see, like, like there should not be any disruptive thing
yeah,
which is going to happen in their normal, like, day-to-day work which these people are doing. And then we should also
yeah,
acknowledge their wins, right? We should validate what
yeah,
worked
exactly.
for them, and maybe we can identify the practices behind those wins, right? And we should show the respect for their experience. That's going to build the psychological safety, I think. And then maybe we
Yeah,
can propose, maybe, on a trial basis, just let's say some agile event, let's say 15-minute our daily scrum, just to tell them, to show them the clear benefits they can bring, I mean, maybe the faster blocker removal or
yeah,
things
but
like that we can.
even that still depends on how effective they are. To give you an example, I worked with a team. This was at the beginning of my career, and there was a team. They had the average length of their daily scrum was about an hour. The sprint, they kept, it's like, Eric, we need 3 extra days to finish the sprint goal. So for me, it was a very frustrating time. Refinement never happened. It, all these things that I was trying to set up as a scrum master, and they just weren't open for it. And after a while, I started, paying attention, and I discovered that they delivered their sprint goals. They had a lot of fun together. They had effective conversations, and sure, they didn't have a process, but they went on to win an award from their company because they delivered a very challenging product on schedule. And for me, that was the realization. Like, if you have a high performance team, that maybe they don't need a process, and you have to accept that. And that is still an example of agility that can you use to inspire other teams. Yeah, and there you also see the danger of metrics. Yeah, you see a lot of companies nowadays using the agile maturity assessment. Yeah, so a team like this, they would have completely failed that assessment. But if you look at the agility level, it's superb. Yeah, so that's the complexity of agility and why it's so difficult to manage an agile transition.
Okay, thank you, Eric, for that. And I think we are good for today. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I think we are on just on time. So thank you, Eric, and thank you, friends, all of you who are watching this session for joining us for today's session. And we hope you found it helpful, informative, different perspective. I hope you enjoyed this session. So please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And we hope to see you in our next session. Until then, take care. This is Sunan Sharma signing off. Thank you, everyone, and bye. Thank you, Eric, one more time.
Thank you very much, Anand. It was a lot of fun.